So you want to make 2024 a successful year where you add extra income outside of your 9 to 5, maybe even quit your job, but most importantly, achieve your financial goals. So my name is Preston. In the last 5 years, I went from working as a corporate employee, particularly as a sales rep working at a software company, to starting a real estate empire and having over $11.5 million worth of real estate and 7 Airbnb properties. Today's video, I'm not going to be giving you some false hope, something like just do these 3 things and you'll become a millionaire. Instead, I'm going to actually show you what it takes to achieve your goals and what actually to do to make 2024 your year. Now, I think a lot of people overhype the idea of making a ton of money so easily, which is completely different from what the average human experiences. Now, achieving your financial goals comes down to unlearning the bad character traits that you've accumulated over the years. So yes, in this video, I'm probably going to piss you off. And if you get easily offended, then this video probably isn't for you. Now, with that being said, let's call this right here mud. So 99% of people find themselves below the mud right here. Actually, 1% of people actually find themselves above the mud. Now, the difference that separates the 99% of people here and the 1% here are these 3 things I'm going to share with you in this video. So the first thing I want to talk about is ignorance. If you're in an older generation, say between the ages of 30 and above, there are all these different outside factors in your life stopping you from where you want to be. And no, this isn't because X business model is saturated or you don't have enough time or the lack of motivation and all these things that everyone talks about. Before I continue, yes, even if you're 18 to 26 years old, this video will still be valuable to you. Just stick with me here for a couple minutes. Anyway, if you're 35 or older, you're part of a generation whose youth didn't experience the technological era. You grew up in a childhood without any iPhones, screens, or computers. In fact, you're probably playing Tetris on one of those first computers at school. It was completely crazy to you probably, right? So let's say you're 18 in the year 2007. Now, typically the human brain finishes development somewhere in the early to middle of your 20s. So let's say you establish your character and what you believe in life somewhere around the year 2010, okay? So in 2010, the internet did exist, but it was nowhere what it is today. And especially you probably have this limiting belief that you can make money from the internet. So I'm 32 years old, and I'm sure you've heard this from your parents and the other generations, is number 1, to have a good life is to get a college degree. Number 2, get a good job so that you can pay some bills. Number 3 is to save up that money. Number 4 is to retire, put your money into a 401k so that maybe one day you can have enough money to retire in your elderly years. So that's what everyone our age and above thought the path was at that time. And that's what we believed. And most importantly, didn't question. And yes, being tired and hating our jobs was always a thing, but not many people have thought of escaping that. They just live with it. The only sexy thing through this moment was real estate, and everyone, if they wanted to escape their 9 to 5s, was saving money to buy rental properties. But we all know at the time that real estate is a slow process, and a lot of people don't like slow wealth creation that involves getting into a lot of debt. And up until this moment, social media really wasn't a thing as far as seeing other people flexing their lifestyles and making you hate how you live to the bottom of your heart. Well, then 2015 and 2016 comes around and something called crypto starts booming. Things like dropshipping and all these other internet business models, supposedly making people millionaires in a matter of weeks, not decades. Then social media picks up more traction, let's say 2017, 2018, 2019. Hundreds, if not thousands of influencers started talking about how much money they're making and how easy it is to do the same. And at the time, if you saw any of these, there's a huge chance you might have said, that's just BS or that's impossible. This guy's a scammer and all these different things. And while for the most part, most influencers and people flexing their lifestyles are only doing this to capitalize on the attention that they're getting, and some of them were and still are legitimate. You and me at that moment have already built up a perception of the world around us. We just don't know how to accept it. So for example, let's say a 20-year-old comes in and says he's making $50,000 a month helping people sell courses online. You look at him and not even understanding a word he just said, and you'd be like, okay, sure, well then I'm Batman, right? You've gone through a lot of this stuff in your life already, made a lot of jobs where they don't pay you enough, and manager promises you an increase that never actually happens. And there's so much other BS proving to you that life is actually hard, and that making anything above $200,000 per year is like for the athletes or the super hardworking individuals, the people that have trust funds, people who've just climbed the corporate ladder for 10 or 20 years. And there's also a good chance that you had to fight and deal with a lot of the BS to where you are right now. And if a kid who can't even drink alcohol legally yet comes in and tells you that the average salary he's making in a month, that you just can't accept that, right? So you're ignorant, but that's not because you want to, but because your brain has developed through the years. But you can't just accept that as fact compared to your previous experiences that you can just make so much money, especially in such a limited amount of time because you're out here busting your butt for a couple of decades, right? And that's why you can't find the time or the motivation to start a business that could hypothetically make you tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars every single month. And if you truly believe that it's possible to make $10,000, $20,000, let's say even $50,000 a month, or say millions of dollars per month, right? That's all you need to find the motivation and time within yourself to try and do that. And the same rule applies to younger generations as well. If you're 18 to 30 years old and you're not lucky that your parents are millionaires, you would have the same belief system as well. And it's not that hard. That you can make a lot of money, but only if you like spending 15 to 20 years working for a corporation or doing something crazy that would make you a millionaire in return. So the first thing that you need to do is truly pursue the path of success is to let go of your ignorance. Okay, so stop being ignorant and instead be curious. Look around you and see what other people are doing. As much as this might sound bad, try and be naive like you were a kid, right? You need to fully let go of your current situation and what you're facing, and instead fully fall in love with what you could accomplish if only you look at the positive side of things, okay? So for example, when I say I have short-term rentals, a lot of people started yelling at me saying, haha, well, you saw what New York just did. They just banned a bunch of short-term rentals. Soon you're gonna have to file bankruptcy. You're gonna have to be back working your 9 to 5. Who do you think you are? And all these different things. And all these objections and excuses, looking only at the empty side of a half-filled glass of water, while these same people only have one source of income and they're literally one call away from having no job next week. So this is really not how you should be living your life. If you really want to make 2024 your best year, then you have to stop being ignorant. And the most important thing you need to do is fully let go. Now, the second thing we want to talk about is seeking opportunities. So there's this really interesting theory about red cars, and here's how it goes. So let's say I ask you right now, how many red cars did you see in the last 24 hours? You probably have no idea, right? Now, what if I gave you $50 for every red car you see in the next 24 hours? You probably count every single red car because now you know you're going to be getting paid $50 for each car, right? So the same thing applies to making money and starting a business. So for example, in real estate right now, a lot of people are complaining about how high interest rates are, that our grandparents bought properties for a pack of gum at $100 back in 1980. But in reality, it's just your brain giving you excuses and objections to stay in your comfort zone and not change anything about your life. And it's easier that way to not take a risk and do something that you don't know if it's actually going to work or not. And it sounds scary and unknown to you, and that's why you're doing that. Instead, why don't you look around and see how many properties are listed for rent? What if you sign one of these properties and under a sublease contract without actually having to get into a mortgage, put some money into it for amenities and furniture, and then launch it as a short-term rental? That's the exact thing that I've been doing for the past couple of years. Now I have 6 properties making me $30,000 a month in cash flow. So it hurts me when I see people always complaining, wanting the perfect business model of ways of making money. And I'm going to tell you the harsh truth here, okay? There's no such thing as a perfect business model, guys. There are always problems in business, just like there are always problems in life. When you cross the street, you're essentially taking a risk. What's the chance of having a drunk driver coming and hitting you, right? You don't know that, but there's always some level of risk in anything that you do. It's just those big things that you think about that do involve risks that make you procrastinate and not take any action. So you want to make sure that you train your eye to seek opportunity. It doesn't matter if we're in a recession or not, you're always having to seek opportunities. You're going to find plenty, I promise you. And it's actually funny because when I mentioned a recession in 2020, while everyone was locked up and thought the entire world was ending, I knew this kid who was able to strike a deal with this Chinese factory. And this kid knew an association of American hospitals in need of masks, and he was able to sell them for 5 times the factory price. So he literally made millions in profit while everyone is chilling and watching Tiger King and watching Netflix, blaming the economy for not being able to make any money. None of this is significant if you seek an opportunity. So fully prime yourself to look for these opportunities. Now, the last thing to make 2024 your year is to capitalize on trends. So while you can find opportunities in any market, it's true that in some, it's going to take you longer than in others. So for example, in 2024, and there are a ton of competitors in any market. Starting another Facebook or Instagram today would be next to impossible. Now, there's other business models like dropshipping or building a software company or doing traditional real estate in today's day and age are very hard things to do. I've tried plenty of these, and I personally lost $50,000 trying to dropship and all these side hustles that every guru is talking about. So in my opinion, it's not the best bet that you should take, especially right now. The best way to go into a market and make as much money as you possibly can that doesn't involve a ton of competition is going into a boring market that not many people are interested in. And obviously adding your own unique twist to it with the help of technology. So a market like this that I found is short-term rentals. So number one, it's real estate, and 99% of people think that you need $100,000 for a down payment and a rock solid $150,000 per year income to be in an 8% interest rate or whatever it is at these current high interest rate mortgages. Now, up until now, most people still believe real estate is a boring market, and that would be the last thing that they would do to build wealth because it's slow, takes a lot of time and money. But not many people know about something that I like to call the bridge method. It's where you find properties for rent, but instead of pitching the landlord to buy the property, you use something called the sublease contract. So that way you can become a second ghost landlord of a property without having to put a huge down payment or get a mortgage at the current high interest rates. Then you invest $10,000 to $30,000 depending on the size of the property in adding amenities, furnishing the property, and then you launch it on sites like Airbnb. And then you list the property for hire on Airbnb. Airbnb is going to pay you. You pay the landlord and some expenses, and the difference is going to be straight cash flow into your pocket. And of course, that's if you know how to do market research properly, how to evaluate these properties, and also setting up a team and systems in place. So from my experience, the bridge method up until now has been awesome. I set up my first property in December 2021, and I used this exact same strategy. So I set up a property in Arizona. It was 500 miles away from where I currently live. With about $26,000, I set up a local contractor team, handyman, movers, cleaners to do all the work while I manage everything remotely. And in the first 30 days after we launched, we generated $15,000 in revenue and $9,000 of which was clear profit. And so that was more cash flow than my 40 long-term rental units combined in 1 month. So that's what I would personally pursue in 2024 while everyone else is chasing the next sexy thing. So if you're interested in setting up Airbnbs yourself, I'm going to be hosting a free live training where I'm going to show you how I've done it and how you can do it too. You can click the first link in the description. So if I had to start from scratch today, the video you just watched is the only video I would use to make 2024 my year. And guys, stop being ignorant, seek opportunities, and capitalize on the current trends that not many people are talking about. And I'll see you in the next video.